Yes, a very good welcome. Hello everybody from all over the world watching this official kickoff of BredaPhoto 2022. Yay! There's no one in the studio, so nobody can applaud, but yay! Please wave, all of you behind your computers. Oh my God, I see people from everywhere, also some lonely people. Don't worry, for the next 1 hour and a half, we will entertain you with insights in the festival to come, also throwbacks to the festival that has been, interesting guests, videos, art, and of course, me, I'm your host, Lucas de Man. I will take care of you, don't worry. Welcome. Well, every good show starts with a little conversation with the director of a festival, and lucky enough, there is a director of the BredaPhoto Festival. Her name is Fleur van Muiswinkel, and she's here. Applause, Fleur. Fleur, welcome.
Thank you.
So nice to meet you. Congratulations on a beautiful team.
Thank you.
Theatre of Dreams. We have a few hundred students and a few thousand visitors that are watching us. What would you like to tell them?
First of all, welcome everybody. It's such an important day, the kick-off of our theme. 2022 Theatre of Dreams. I'm really looking forward to it. I also want to wish you a pleasant day. Let yourself be inspired. Thank you to all the people who worked on it.
Yes, they are tired because they worked so hard on this show.
The co-curators, everybody who will speak today, I hope they will bring you what you're expecting and that it will help you to open up and make new work that will inspire our public in 2022. So.
Yes, clear words. We have amazing speakers coming up, so probably it will inspire you. Give it up. Thank you so much, Fleur. Thank you so much. Fleur van Muiswinkel. Woo! Okay, so now, before we go and look forward, let's look a little bit backwards to the festival of last year.
Allá viene un muchacho como loco. Allá viene por la quebrada con tu palito de ron. Allá, todito rollito viene, cámara lenta del timbo al tambo. Del timbo al tambo. Vaya. Rápalo. Allá viene un viejito por la orilla, allá viene tremenda rumba de raspacanilla, con los patitos como culebra siempre palanqueando, vacilando con calores, viene como quemando, disimulando los dolores, viene así de colores, viene su... Vienen los extraterrestres. Ay, Dios mío, que me lleven. ¿En serio? Ah, bueno, ¿me pueden llevar? Ok. Bueno, chao.
I was there last year, it was amazing. Did you, Vivian?
Yes, of course.
See it, visit it, experienced it. How was it for you?
It was really nice. I already work for some time for BredaPhoto, so of course I'm always there.
Yeah, because you are involved in the International Talent Program. A lot of the viewers now are part or want to be part of the International Talent Program. And why do you have it? Why is it so important to have an International Talent Program at the BredaPhoto Festival?
Well, we think for talents it might be hard to get foot on the ground in the photography world, and we want to really help them to bring their stories to the world and find an audience and find a network as well to create these stories in the world. And we think that we can help them already during their studies, but also later on at their starting career. So we have different projects within the program where we do this. So we start already with the students, and they are here today, of course.
Yes, and for those who think nobody will ever help me in my career, Vivian is here to help you.
We try at least.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have these different projects, and we focus on different groups within this.
Yeah, because there are 3 components. This is what you were showing. What are the 3 components?
Well, we started actually with the Academy project already in 2010.
Yeah.
And this is also where the students are here today. So we ask all these students from 9 different academies throughout Europe to work on the team of BredaPhoto. And well, we want to know their stories, their perspectives on this work. And in January and February, we're going to visit them at the Art Academy.
Great. So you'll come to their academy, you watch their work, and then?
And then we give some feedback so they can make it even better. And then in April, they will pitch it to us, and we will choose at least 9 photographers, because the student photographers, they can exhibit then also during BredaPhoto in 2022.
Super cool. Theater of Dreams. I'm really curious what they will come up with.
Yes, me too. And I think it's a really nice platform, because then they can exhibit already at the festival,
of course,
between all the other photographers. Yeah.
The other 2.
Yeah, we also have the residency program. Also, these are alumni from the same academies, but they already graduated for 1 or 2 years. And we ask them to come to Breda and make some work during the festival. So they do this for about 6 weeks, and then afterwards they will present their work they made.
Which is amazing, because you can visit the beautiful Breda, and you can make work here, and you're in the festival, so it's climbing up from students to alumni.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have the 3rd program.
3rd level,
that's
highest.
the best, of course. No, it's actually the newest program. It's a support program, and we started it last year. We selected 3 talents who already are working for about 3 or 5 years, so they are a bit further in their career. And we are coaching them for 1.5 years with a new project that they are working on. And we help them also with building a network and creating this work and give them a platform.
So from young photographers to professional young photographers.
Yes, that's actually what it is. So there's different subjects within.
So actually there are so many steps. The chance that one of the people watching now is going to be in the program is pretty big,
It's pretty big, yeah.
Super, thank you so much. Vivian, give an applause for Vivian Bucks. Woo!
Thank you.
Yay! I see some of you applauding behind your screen. Thank you so much. It helps the atmosphere and the energy here, because corona-wise, we're only allowed for cameramen, and somehow they don't like to applaud that much. Okay, so let's continue. There is an international curatorial team, or co-curators, and I'm going to talk with one of them. But what we did is we interviewed them in length and made videos so that you can really listen to what they have to say, and then I will interview them, and we'll start off with Mohamed.
A very big welcome to all of you, and especially to the art students of the International Talent Program for BredaPhoto. My name is Mohamed Somji, and I'm very happy to be part of the curatorial team at BredaPhoto, and very excited to share the theme of the next festival. It's hard to look at the world today and feel a sense of optimism and positivity when we're facing rampant inequality, economic and social injustice and oppression, natural disasters thanks to climate change, health crises, and our inability or lack of political will to deal with them. And as much as I want to avoid referencing COVID's impact, we can't ignore its effects on the world, at which the initial stage were catastrophic. More than a year later, we find ourselves in the midst of an ongoing pandemic, one that continues to ebb and flow. The projects we hope to show will distill our yearning for social, political, and economic equality, those that celebrate community while facing, resisting, and acknowledging our everyday reality. And it's important to note that we don't espouse any fantasies of utopian or idealist hope for the sake of it. We're very conscious that the odds are stacked against many of those trying to shape radical ideas and futures. But that's precisely the point. Where would we be if we didn't try to challenge the status quo? Suchitra Vijayan, a writer and an activist, said recently in an interview about her book, Midnight's Borders, when asked about the notion of hope, she had this to say: "Hope is radical. Hope is the last bastion of our defense. It's when we lose hope that we believe that we have lost everything. Also, hope is a discipline. It's a practice. Like you train for a marathon, you train to be hopeful every day. That's part of the political imagination that I believe we need for political movements or any sustained acts of resistance. These new worlds already here, they're maps of survival, maps of resistance. They may not be perfect worlds or even equal worlds, but they strive to be. This might not seem like much, but it is absolutely essential. It is these notions and questions we want to raise with the work that we show during BredaPhoto 2022, and we hope you will join us for the journey. Thank you.
Mohamed, and now you're with me through Zoom. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can. Perfect.
Nice video, Mohamed.
Thank you.
Yeah, sincere. But tell me, Theater of Dreams, why? Why did you choose that theme?
So, you know, we started discussing the theme around the middle of the pandemic. And, you know, while it was and it continues to be a very, very difficult time for many people, I think within our team, there was this consensus and willingness to look ahead to better days. You know, and in a sense, this pandemic is fertile, is a fertile ground for transformation and renewal, much like Bruno Latour outlined in his essay in 2020 that struck a chord with many people. And I think this imperative of reshaping our present and future, especially having seen the world go to to the brink with millions of deaths and economic shutdowns and the vulnerable and marginalized, even more precarious than they've been. It was important to us to allow for these imaginations and possibilities to be discussed or to be presented. And this is where the Theater of Dreams was born.
But Mohamed, let's be honest, artists are very good at showing how screwed up the world is. Are they also good at showing, let's say, pathways or possibilities for making it better? Is it difficult to find projects that show hope?
I think you're right that artists, I would be kinder in saying that artists are, have a lot of empathy and try to, show a lot of the struggles and the challenges that people face. And of course, it's easier to kind of reflect on, suffering or miscarriages of justice. And a lot of the photo world commissions that kind of work. It's sexier, right, to show misfortune and tragedy. And I think we were definitely wondering if it was going to be challenging. But I'm happy to tell you that as we started the process, it's been wonderful to see an array of fascinating projects that are being produced or have already been produced that address this theme. And, many artists are documenting and creating work, and a lot of them are collaborating with other people who are not necessarily artists, but, people who are living these new reshaped realities. And they're, showing us alternative ways to function in what can feel like a very claustrophobic world, even, when progress and change appear to be in short supply. But I applaud a lot of these people who are, making the time and effort to tell these stories.
Well, I think you made a very interesting comment by saying that art is empathetic. I think all art is empathy, right? Even if you talk about hope, it's empathy. If you talk about disasters, empathy. You try to make people feel what is happening. But I see a generation blooming, a young generation that doesn't only want to say the world is not going well, let's put it that way, but also wants to say, okay, things are not going well, what can we do about it, without one truth, of course. So will it be next year, Theater of Dreams, will it be a festival of hope, or will it be a festival of empathy?
I think they're not mutually exclusive. I think through the projects that we showcase, we hope that people are able to imagine these new possibilities, and it comes from a place of empathy, right? It's because we are hurt and concerned about what the world is going through that we want to see a better present and a better future. And I think that is driving a lot of this. And I think that people are tired, and especially during COVID, there was a lot of, darkness. And I think people are trying to find the light at the end of this tunnel, however it may be. And, as I said in the video, we have to be honest that, by showing stories of hope, it's not going to change the world. It's, we are, in the midst of a very difficult time when we can still see that. And, but what else do we have if we don't have the ability to imagine and to hope for a better future? It's our responsibility.
Absolutely. I think it's also a call to the students here who still have to make the work for the festival, get inspired by hope, always with empathy, but please also get inspired by hope. Mohamed, one more question. You are part of the international curatorial team. How interesting is it to be an international curatorial team for a festival that is in Breda?
I think it's wonderful. My association and involvement with Breda goes back, about 5 years now or 6 years. And I have to say that, I'm a better person for it. I'm really excited to be part of this team. We have a wonderful team and that spans pretty much the globe now. And our conversations and discussions have been very uplifting and wonderful. And there's this, very vibrant exchange of ideas and insights. And, we're also challenging each other, fighting with each other, but in the best of ways. And I think that we are learning from each other. And I think BredaPhoto will be better for it.
Yes, so good fighting helps BredaPhoto. I will remember that one. Let's meet some of your co-curators. Let's meet them. First from Brazil, we have Denise Camargo. Of course, again, we interviewed her and this is what she had to say.
Eu sou a Denise Camargo. Eu sou fotógrafa, artista visual. Sou brasileira. Trabalho com a fotografia há mais de 30 anos e descobri a fotografia quando eu ainda era estudante de jornalismo. E foi um momento muito precioso para mim. Descobri a fotografia naquela banheira de químicos, no processo analógico, coisa que nós vemos muito pouco hoje em dia, em função das tecnologias. Eu também sou professora, pesquisadora, atualmente no Departamento de Artes Visuais da Universidade de Brasília e no programa de pós-graduação em Artes Visuais, onde eu desenvolvo pesquisas e projetos na área de poéticas e processos artísticos, poéticas visuais. Para mim é uma oportunidade muito grande estar nesta equipe curatorial da Bienal BredaPhoto. Esse é um festival longevo, é um festival importante e nós não tivemos ainda a grande representatividade da fotografia brasileira, então eu imagino que o meu papel nessa equipe seja apresentar a fotografia do meu país, a fotografia latino-americana, que é bastante potente, em razão dos temas e das formas artísticas, dos conteúdos artísticos que esses fotógrafos e fotógrafas produzem. E, sobretudo neste momento, o teatro dos sonhos é algo esperado por nós. É um tema em que nós podemos também expressar as nossas possibilidades de futuros possíveis no Brasil. E eu estou muito feliz de poder participar desse processo. Eu agradeço muito.
Oh, I love the language, don't you? I love the language. And did you see how beautiful the mango was put there so that it gave me some calm, right? It was like staged. Please, can you tell me a little bit, what does Denise bring to the team? Because she says I represent Brazilian and Latin American photography. What does that mean?
I think that we've lacked, voices from South America. We've definitely had projects from South America, but I think what Denise brings is a wonderful network of work and photographers and artists who I think we can learn a lot from. Latin America has had such a tumultuous history, and even within the last 50 to 60 years, they have undergone many transformations and renewals. And I think we can really bring a lot of multifaceted work that will speak to the theater of dreams. And, other than that, Denise also brings some wonderful insights to the rest of the projects to get, her perspective. And, she is a researcher and a curator and also a photographer. And I think, and that's why I really look forward to our Zoom calls and our meetings in person when we are able to have them, to be able to just, learn and just kind of soak in everything that we discuss.
I can imagine that every time you have a Zoom call, she brings another fruit. That would be so cool. So it's very subtle, every time another fruit. Okay, the other person of your team, all the way from India, is Tanvi Mishra, and we also interviewed her. Let's watch.
Hi, my name is Tanvi Mishra and I'm based out of New Delhi in India. I work with photography in various capacities as a photo editor, as a writer, as an independent curator as well. I have been working as the creative director of a magazine, a journal which focuses on long-form narrative journalism that looks at politics and culture. In my own personal practice, this is where I'm interested in photography and lens-based media, where visual culture intersects with politics, culture, and society. I am also the photo editor of another publication which is called PICS, where we have been attempting to build an archive of contemporary photography in the South Asian region. The South Asian region is the landscape in which I mostly work, and we try to look at, I'm interested in looking at South Asian history, South Asian narratives, and South Asian activisms, and how they come to be documented and archived within the visual culture space. So to be invited for being a guest curator of BredaPhoto for 2022, it's an exciting opportunity because primarily because of the theme, Theatre of Dreams. I see Theatre of Dreams as a theme that is incumbent upon our times. I feel that it is a moment where it opens, we have a responsibility to imagine, the responsibility to imagine a future which is very different from what we live in today. It feels at this point that we are in the middle of an epochal moment, and while the pandemic for a long time felt like it was the most urgent crisis that we've had to deal with, we obviously see that at least in our part of the world, and I'm sure this is mirrored in many other communities, where the pandemic is only one amongst the crises that plague us today. So when we're in the middle of this epochal moment, I feel that what is the way forward, and when we do get out of this moment, what is the kind of world that we want to inhabit? One of the most one of the aspects of the last few years that I have found to be extremely encouraging to me at a personal level has been the movements that have taken place across the world that are demanding, they're not asking, but they're demanding for justice. This is racial justice in certain parts, there is caste justice in our part of the world, there is gender justice, but wherever the justice and whichever mode they may be asked for, we are asking for a world where we develop a world that is kinder, that is more equitable, and which preserves the dignity of every human being living on this planet. How do we get to this better world? How do we arrive there? And do we actually inhabit a different world than we inherited when we got into the pandemic? So I actually see Theatre of Dreams as a responsibility. We have a responsibility to imagine the future, because unless we imagine, we will not be able to start the work for where we wish to go tomorrow. So this is why I hope to bring in stories from our part of the world, that is South Asia, which brings in perspectives of how we see this dream manifest for us in the future. Thank you.
And she's here. Look, all the way from India. It took you 6 minutes and woof, you're here. Welcome, Tanvi.
Good to be here.
Yes. Is this your first time in Breda?
Yes, it is.
And what do you think?
I've seen a sum total of the studio, so it's amazing.
You've seen this?
Yeah.
This is the highlight of Breda. All tourists come here to see the famous work, right, of our photographers, and then they go into the city. I'll show you later. But first, why did you decide to join the curatorial team? Why did you say yes? Because you already have 70 jobs. Why did you say yes?
I always kind of pounce at opportunities where we can bring stories from our part of the world to places which perhaps don't know them. A phrase that really resonates with me is that up until now, all the stories have been about us, but without us. So somewhere I think a perspective shift is always a good thing, and perhaps that can spark some new thoughts.
Yes, let's hope. The Theatre of Dreams. What is for you, and especially the part where you're from, what does Theatre of Dreams represent?
I think where I come from, there has been inequality, injustice, and not just where I come from. I think if we really are to look at the world, we have all of these problems. But for me, I see this as a very particular moment because we see the stripping of our democracy happening in front of our eyes. But I also see in parallel, it's actually sparking citizens' protests and citizens' movements helmed primarily by students, actually, by minority communities and students. And that really inspires me. If students are doing their job, then we have a responsibility to follow them. And I think we have a responsibility to dream. And so, yeah, coming into the curatorial team gives me that opportunity.
Yeah, and you say we have the responsibility to dream. What is the responsibility of the artists today, in your opinion?
I think all artists are citizens of the world first, and they have a responsibility to society. For me, it's always, art is always meaningful to me when it comes from within. So for me, an artist perhaps has to locate themselves in this spectrum. Have you been oppressed? Then tell the story of your community. Have you been an oppressor? Then tell the story of complicity. Or have you been the beneficiary of this inequality? Then you tell the story of how this inequality came about, and then perhaps how do we break this? So
always a responsibility to tell the story, always a responsibility to share and to make sure that people understand each other better.
And perhaps locate your position in this world, because we all inhabit different positions in this world. And if we all get to have equal voice for all our stories, then perhaps we'd be able to move forward and drive change.
Yes, yes. And then you said, in your interview, you said, is the world going to be different than we left it before Corona? Do you hope it's going to be different? Should it be different? Will it be different?
It has to be. I think the world has to move forward, because I think that there's enough that we have to look back to learn from. So if there is so much, all the learnings are right around us. It's just that we have to spot them right now. And I think Corona has, if you want to put on some rose-tinted glasses, then it's given us this opportunity to pause on life. And this opportunity is not going to come again. So we use this opportunity to be able to stop, pause, reckon, and then we have to move forward, don't we?
Yeah. And now there are many people watching, I think thousands, but also a few hundred students, young artists, aspiring artists. What would you like to tell them from your perspective?
I think being a student, you have this amazing ability to imagine an ideal world. And I think art is a way in which you perhaps can imagine this ideal world and show it to those of us that might have become a bit jaded. And so use art as that weapon which allows you to break these shackles that kind of hold the world today from becoming a better place.
Nice. Art is a weapon that you can use. That is very nice. Especially the idea that all of us have a voice, that all of us can actually change something, maybe not the whole world entirely, but I really like the message that you bring across, that even when you're, for example, young and you have the feeling, oh my God, the whole world is still happening, you can actually have a part in changing things because you're still fresh and open. If you're a little bit older, you can actually change because you share your experience, and if you all share, we can maybe come together a little bit better and then maybe change something for the better. Mm-hmm. Is that what you hope?
Yeah,
somewhat what you hope.
Yeah.
Are you positive for the future? Or are you very worried lying in bed every night thinking, oh my God?
I won't lie. I've had those nights, because I think we're surrounded by doom and gloom a lot. But you can't not be positive, because you know, if we give up, we're the privileged. If we give up, then you know, what can we say for those around us? Because I really think I have an opportunity to be here in front of you. That's my privilege, where I have a voice. So those with a voice, I don't think you have an option to not be positive. We have to look forward.
We have to voice, and the voice should be at least energizing, so that you bring with you people who don't have that voice.
Yes.
Tanvi, please seat it, because now we're going to go to music, of course, because then after the music we'll have our special guest Merlijn van Twaalfhoven here. Merlijn Twaalfhoven is going to be here seated, and well, he's going to give a lecture about his book It's Up to Us, right? But now first music, and I'm going to make sure that I say this right, by Frank van der Kooi and Nico Chientaroli. They're going to have music and images of art. It's going to be great, and we're going to listen right now. Yes, hello everybody. I'm Merlijn van Twaalfhoven, and well, we're talking about dreaming, about ideals. And I'm wondering, if there is a dream, if there is an ideal world, a good world, how to get there. When I was young, it was simple. You know, we had bad guys and good guys. I was a fan of Greenpeace. They were my heroes, you know. If you wanted to pollute, you wanted to throw your radioactive waste in the ocean, then Greenpeace would come. And with their boat, they would block it. If you wanted to kill a whale, I don't know why, but if you're a bad person, you wanted to kill a whale, wow, then Greenpeace comes and will block it. So to stop you from killing the whale. Well, that's totally different today. I mean, the big challenges of our world, climate change, you know, particles of CO2 in the air, you cannot smell them, you cannot feel them. And also, you cannot blame anyone, because it's just us, we, ourselves, what we're doing, we're part of a problem. It's society, it's too big. It is, well, people call it wicked problems. I sometimes think, imagine climate change would be caused by a monster, something from outer space. That would be lovely, because we would all unite, everyone would join forces, we would get the best weapons, and we will kill the bastards. Imagine, that would be lovely. The whole humanity would feel united. But that's different today, with the gap between rich and poor, or when species get extinct. I mean, we don't even know their names, so we can't feel anything. Well, wicked problems, it's a concept you might already know. It's about things that involve changing behavior, complex realities, things that are interlinked, everything. If you solve a problem here, then a new problem appears at the other side. And that is the reality of our world. And you can feel powerless because you don't see a road for positive change. You don't see what's actually gonna work. Well, United Nations made all these wicked problems into a nice diagram. And they put 17. Actually, it's all connected, but it looks very kind of neat. I was once invited in a kind of summit with world leaders. It was amazing. It was directed by Professor Sachs from the United Nations. And, well, scientists, politicians, CEOs of multinationals, they were all there. You know, I was part of it. You can see me in the corner. An artist, not even a famous one, like Bono. I was there. Well, anyway, they kind of throw the responsibility to each other. It was, for me, it was a different world. It was very complex, but it started with Jeffrey Sachs telling that the United Nations can never solve these problems in the world. It's the member states. But then
the former president of Finland. She said, wait a second, politicians have no long-term vision because they need to be re-elected every 4 years. No, look, where is the money going? To the multinationals or the banking. And then the CEO of a multinational said, no, look, I have to show the numbers every quarter of a year. If I don't make a profit, I'm out. No, the non-profit mindset is needed, like science. They're independent. And the scientist said, well, we as scientists, we know already for years what needs to be done. Like climate is warming up. We are shouting this for 20 years now. No one is listening. No, the media has access to the hearts and minds of people. And then there was this main editor of a big magazine. He said, like, wait, media, no, people have no attention to really read long stories. Everyone is distracted. You know, there is such a lot of noise everywhere. It's about, you need to be short with clicks and bytes and distractions. Otherwise, well, people just don't have the time to listen. And then Professor Sachs looked at me and he said, artists, they might touch the feelings, the emotions of people. And that is a way to make people desire a better world. That's why we need artists. Well, and I was confused because I know the power of art. You know, I love to be in a concert hall. Everyone is silent, and then there's beautiful music. It's nice, but will it change the world? I don't know. But I experimented. That's the thing. To turn around and to ask the audience, can you join us? Or to blindfold the audience. Make them not see the music, and the whole experience becomes different. And then I put my musicians around, even on rooftops, I put musicians to cross the space. And in a case, I was on rooftops in the capital of Cyprus, this capital that is divided with a Turkish and a Greek part after a civil war, many years ago. And the musicians kind of communicated through the air. I learned a lot in these experiments, especially in Cyprus. At some point, it wasn't about my music. Of course, I was busy making music, but at a certain point, when my music, well, didn't work out, someone was confused, they did not have the right cue, there was a silence. And later people told me it was the most impressive moment. Because they heard the birds sing. They could see, they could experience reality because my artwork had made them be attentive, be very open. Look at the world. And then we removed the art and the world was there. And the people were so open and attentive. So I found many ways in art, in what we did, that could really evoke like the senses of everyone. And with the senses, you can really make connections, contact with the world around you, the people, the stories, the art of listening. Well, and actually we could just climb on a checkpoint where there was military. And art can also do things that others can never do, because it's very dangerous to go to a soldier and say like, okay, I want to be in your place. But when I'm with a music instrument, suddenly there is a confusion, there's space. And this confusion, the breaking of patterns, is a way out of the systems that throw us in a certain direction that we cannot leave. So, one more example. Of course, art is very often about messages, big stories, reaching audiences. But at some places, that is really not working out, because people feel shy or vulnerable to speak out And I was working in Jerusalem. And there with the Palestinian people who live under the occupation, it's very tense society. And they worry a lot. They cannot freely speak out. So we created intimate secret festival in living rooms. So I found out that we needed this enclosure, this safety for people to actually be vulnerable and to dare to express maybe feelings that are usually never can come to the surface. So I believe there is a role, not just for art, but for the artist mindset. And wicked problems really need an artist mindset, not just with artists, but with everyone. So if I would summarize give you like a 1 minute introduction. First ask, what's uncertain in the world? What's uncertain? And then is observation. What can we perceive? What can we see? Without judgment yet, just perception. Can we notice feelings? Can these feelings be connected? Can we really express these feelings, make a connection this way? And imagination is of course also an important part. New ideas can form, a road appears in front of you. And in this imagination, a dream might actually take shape. But then we also really need this next step, and that is to make things physical. So to share a creative process. So that is maybe building a road through uncertainty, or navigating a world that is changing. And we are really, we might be the professionals in this navigation skills. So that's why I say it's up to us to really help the rest of the world adopt our artist mindset. Thank you.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Merlijn, please be seated. This chair will be taken away by our beautiful assistant. Give her applause as well. Amazing, thank you. Beautifully well done. So, a lot of young artists are watching at this moment, listening to another young artist, telling them your role in society is very important. You are a composer, you are a lecturer, you are a speaker, a creative researcher, you're a slasher, creative slash, like me, right? We do the different things, but what is always consistent is that you believe in the power of your job, right? That you have a very responsible job, that you actually can change something. I see you in this little lecturers as well. Why do you believe that? What made you actually realize, because you told a story that I did it, what made you realize we have a more important job than sometimes people think?
Yeah, well, the story came after, because I felt shy, especially among these world leaders. I mean, it was really experienced people there. I was shy, but it took me a while, and then I actually found that it is just the experience of having a total uncertain situation, like designing a concert, and then the trust of people who come together, the safety of a team. And in this safety and the trust, also the contrasts between each other, the diversity, then it's like as if we build a vehicle, something that starts moving. And that is really, if you have experienced that, then you also feel that, oh, this type of vehicles that can really move us towards the future, they are really needed.
Then I'm with you until the very last part. I'm with you. I mean, I know what it is to be in a room full of people, that you created a story, and you can have people feel, experience, even talk, share, even when they don't agree with each other, and you create this beautiful feeling that we call art, right? Yeah. How then can art help us for these huge, wicked problems?
Well, a problem needs a solution. And that is very often where people have a desire to make that quick. They see a problem, what kind of solution?
A to B.
Yeah. So artists can really slow down this process, because for a lot of problems there is no simple solution. But what you can do is really enrich the perception. Ask different questions. This is something that's really needed on a lot of places, among politicians, among people in business or whatever. They want to solve a problem, but they forget important questions to ask. And that's what artists can do. And it's not because they have a booklet with all the secret questions. No. It's because if they perceive very well, if they have the time, like if they slow down in their perception, then they feel something. Still, they don't label it, you know, they don't judge it. They feel it, and then they search ways, and then these questions arise.
It's because we don't have anything to sell except for the question, right? The stories and the space is what we do.
Yeah.
We don't have to have voters or products or quarterly reports.
Yeah.
Our job is telling stories.
You mentioned stories, but that word is really eroded.
Yeah.
Because a real story means weaving all kind of rich layers together in a coherent unity. But it's very often a long work, you know. Stories used to go on for
thousands,
for hours, because you were sitting with your community among around the fire, and these stories go on.
And they've been told over generations.
Exactly, yeah. It can be huge stories, and the mysteries of our world were woven into the stories. And today, what we call stories, it's, well, more like confetti.
Yeah.
Snippets of little parts that are all supposed to push some button to make you excited for maybe 2 seconds, and then the next story.
It's all clickbait. It's all clickbait going very fast. Unless you have, of course, these Netflix series, they go on forever. But I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. The need for questions, the need for interaction. Yeah. Okay, so what we did is, Merlijn, because you're my guest now, please be seated, is that we invited some of the artists that will present next year, also some thinkers, to give a statement on video, and then we'll talk about it. The first to do this actually is all the way from the Philippines, is Lola Keyezua, but for the viewers, you might think, whoa, that quality is bad, don't they know how to do it well in the Philippines? They do, but they are completely in lockdown, so they can't do much. And Lola was so kind to do it anyway, and 10 minutes before we did this broadcast, she finally could send, because the internet is not very well at the Philippines, she could send a video. So don't look at the quality, look at the content, right, this time. And here's Lola.
Hi, this is Lola Keyezua, and I'm part of BredaPhoto 2022. For this edition, I will explore the relationship that we have with objects. And I will go through emotions, especially emotions of pain and loss, because during this pandemic, we all know someone, or even we all lost someone we loved, a friend, a family member, or a colleague. And this emptiness that brings to lose someone during such a pandemic is the topic that I want to explore. I want to talk about how we will in the future explore pain, how we will go through the ritual of losing someone and not being able to physically reconnect to this person to say our final goodbye. It happened to me that I couldn't say my final goodbye to a dear one, and that was my sister. So this idea comes from the thought that if we continue to have this physical distance, if we continue to go through pandemics in the near future, it means that it might be that what we know as a touch, that what we know as love, that what we know as a ritual to say goodbye to a loved one might not exist anymore, as we are all used to it. Exploring the life that we breathe into everyday objects is in my interest, because when I think about the theme that we are invited to explore in 2022, I reimagine a future where there is an even bigger distance between us as humans. It's sad, but it's a future that will need to happen because we have to reinvent ourselves as humans, and the love that we knew will change. But what happens if this physical connection stops existing? What happens if we are not able to touch, to feel, to smell, to actually love someone without those boundaries? And that's when I thought that to honor our loved ones in the near future, we might have to go back into a ritual, which is to actually honor the objects that they left behind, honor the things that they loved, but unfortunately they left behind, and those objects become then a way to honor the people we love, a way to rethink how we can actually create a sculpture that honors their existence, that honors the things that they loved. And that's why I will collect several objects, and the process I will share as an art installation, which is interactive. And it starts with visiting containers. From visiting containers, I will talk to the families that lost someone to question which objects represent their loved one. Which object can I use to actually create this final sculpture, which will be only complete after several interviews for me to understand who this person was and why these objects represent them and honors their existence on this earth. In Angola, where I am from, normally when someone dies, you give the person a bath. The last time that you can touch, you can feel, you can dress up the person. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, this ritual was lost. And I believe that it's not only in the Angolan culture that such a ritual was lost, we all had to keep our distance. And this emptiness needs to be filled. And this we will fill up by reimagining objects of desire, reimagining objects that honor the people, to create a series that it's not flat, because I will give it body by combining an installation of photography and objects. As you can see, I have a lot of questions about our future, and I strongly believe that for us as humans to better understand our present, we have to continue to question our future. We have to continue to explore our future, and hopefully we will better understand who we are and who we need to be. I'm looking forward to be part of next year's edition and to celebrate their anniversary with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lola. So, wow. Reinstating a ritual to make sure that we have a new way of dealing with loss because we are losing the ways of connection. Is this one of the wicked problems?
Well, it's certainly a great or most important thing. She says to breathe life in everyday objects means attentiveness or also physical proximity.
Yeah, she's going to interview the people who lost. She's going to carefully select. So it's going to take time.
Yeah.
But you said time and attention.
Yeah, she mentioned the lost rituals. I mean, we are in the Western world. We lost kind of all the rituals. If there is a birthday, we hardly can sing anymore. But you feel the need, of course, when something huge happens, when a loved one...
Especially at funerals. You see the loss of rituals, especially at funerals. We don't know what to do. We just go back to old rituals of beliefs that we don't even have anymore.
Yeah. And I believe strongly that we need rituals if we want anything to see in the future, like a dream or an ideal or a good world. We need to know that we are together, and we can only know that we are together if we have some kind of expression of what it means to be together.
And is it artists who take care of that? Because it used to be, for example, priests or teachers.
Yeah. Well,
do we take that?
Indeed, it was everywhere, because every community was made of togetherness. That was what it was about. And now we made, a lot of artists are actually focused on making nice products and putting them in a kind of market environment or media circus.
To sell it.
And to sell it and to make it to some kind of profit. It's not just financial profit, but especially your reputation, attention. That's also kind of
artistic profit.
Artistic profit, yes. Being poor but being famous, you know. And that is market thinking, scarcity thinking, and it's the opposite what we just heard is everyday objects. See, can they have a story? Is there something to tell? Can we hear it? Can we come closer? Can we slow down the process?
The need for time, the need for attention, raising questions, which is also taking time, so that we bring people together. So the word togetherness is very important in that. One question, the theme is Theatre of Dreams. When you heard that theme, what did you think? Because you say, it's up to us, let's go for it, let's envision. You said you ended with let's envision and make it a reality. How do you see Theatre of Dreams in that context?
Yeah, first I thought, whoa, that sounds like this is about fantasy or not real, not realistic. Because people keep telling me, you're a dreamer, you're an idealist, and it's not kind of a positive thing, you know? If we know that a dream is actually the first start of creating a better world, because without the dream you can never start making it. No. The dream is first. So it's an essential thing. This better world has first to be a dream. But only if we can know how to share it with others, if we understand that this is a common dream, then we can also really see how to get there. Because if you dream alone, it will be daydreaming and lonely, and you will never get anywhere.
Yeah. So the idea is to envision the dream, share it with people. Therefore, for example, festivals or artworks are great, and then act on them.
Yeah, and share the process. You know, the process of making, the struggle, also the doubts, the waste. Some dreams fall apart. If we can share that process,
then it's okay. Because the process is already shaping us. Right. Yeah. I will go back to the idealistic part, but first, one of the most famous living philosophers in the Netherlands is Daan Roovers. And we also asked Daan to say something on video. This is what Daan said.
My name is Daan Roovers. I'm a philosopher, let's say a public philosopher. So I teach philosophy in university, but most of the time I'm lecturing outside university for more general public. And I am a former thinker laureate. And that's a Dutch title for one philosopher who is for 2 years reflecting on current affairs, on politics, on ethical questions. I think we absolutely need art, new stories, new ways of thinking to fight the current crisis of the climate. Because if the future is only about reducing this carbon footprint and is not an attractive image itself, then we are going to lose this fight. And for this attractive image to paint such an image or to have this perspective, we have to use our imagination. There's no other way. So I think that's the reason we need not only scientists, but also artists to invent this new future. One of the very inspiring thinkers of this time is Bruno Latour. Latour says, this corona crisis is only a kind of dress rehearsal for the climate crisis. So we are rehearsing now for new behavior that we have to show later on when this climate crisis is becoming more urgent. It makes me think of Immanuel Kant, a famous German philosopher centuries ago. But one of his famous moral rules was, du kannst, denn du sollst. That means you can because you should. The moral, the obligation is first, and then you see you can perform such moral behavior or such adaptation to new circumstances. I think imagination is a very a very forbidden word in politics. Politicians don't like blueprints. They don't like imagination. They don't like what if. They stick to the facts, to the present, and that in more pragmatic ways. So we see today, and then we see tomorrow, and not talking about next week. That's much too far away. So there is a deep distrust of imagination in politics, and especially in Dutch politics. I think there's a deep trust among artists in politics as well. So this trustfulness is two-sided. there's the work of imagination and the work of managing current affairs. And yes, it is quite dangerous or utopian to bring these two together. So I understand this alienation, I think, but yeah, we need some more free thinking and some more vision, and therefore doing more than just urge people to reduction and changing their behavior in doing less, but let's invite them to do more, but in another way. I spoke to a philosopher last week, and he said, well, now it's too late for pessimism. That's what I like that expression very much, because we're used to pessimism. I think it's our default option if we see something what we don't like. If we see a catastrophe, crisis, climate change, then we are falling back to pessimism in the first place, but that keeps us in place. So we're going to watch this movie of the apocalypse with our pessimistic ideas. But he said it's too late for pessimism. We now have to act, and we are not we're not coming into action because of only pessimistic stories that climate change has already happened and we're too late. And so we need some realistic but optimistic and also attractive alternatives. Hannah Arendt is one of my favorite philosophers, and she has as a philosophical concept the concept of natality. And natality is the capacity for human beings that only human beings have, to the capacity of beginning something new. And this capacity of new beginnings, Arendt says, that is what politics is. And that's what the hope in the world is about. It's about, we are living in this world. We are responsible for this world. And we do see a lot of problems around us. Hannah Arendt wrote this book in the beginning of the 50s, so right after World War II. And she was a refugee, so she knew about totalitarianism. And the last lines of her book are about new beginnings, creating new beginnings. That's what she said, what political thinking is about, thinking of new beginnings. Maybe we are used to this negative way of storytelling, but I also read a few weeks ago a story about a biologist who said a species that survive during evolution were the species that took care of the place they were living. That's one of the most important things in evolution. Take care of your own place and care for it. Don't pollute it. And I think there's one species, very successful, that has forgotten that story. We were able to forget these stories because we have our houses and we have our planes and we have our cars and we have our heating and we have our everything we wanted. But now, yeah, we have to refuel our imaginations, also with old stories. This motto of Theatre of Dreams reminded me of the poet Yeats, who said, "In dreams begins responsibility." Dreaming is part of creating the new world. So it's a task, it's a responsibility of people who have this imagination to start with it and to formulate it and to collect other people and other stories to rebuild these new dreams. So I thought this combination of dreams and responsibility is very interesting. It's not for free. It's because of its potential consequences in the future. So there is a whole source of new of old and new stories to tell and to direct us towards more healthful and more peaceful and more equal future, I hope.
Erst kommt das Fressen, dann die Moral. Erst kommt die Moral und dann die Aktion. If you translate it to German.
Ja.
Do you believe that? People only gonna act if you just tell them it's the end of time, we have to change, they won't change. But if they feel like it's important to them, they will.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we are super adaptive species. And that's weird because we must adapt and no one is actually changing. We are really stuck to all kind of old bad behaviors. So why don't we adapt? Because we're super adaptive.
Yeah.
We can live in the polar circle or in the desert. Because we don't feel it. There is no physical proximity. There is no experience of that future. And the only way to start experiencing the future is through artistic ways, who might say like, what if? Or
if you listen,
might.
sorry, if you listen to Daan, she almost said, we have to, as artists, we have to seduce people, make it nice. She said, yeah, but people now don't like it yet because it feels a little bit ugly and difficult. Artists can help envision it and make it nice. That sounds a little bit like we are the clowns and the jokers of the revolution. Yeah. But when I listen to you, we actually are more than that. We are more than the people who make it nice. We're the people who actually lead the way or create the space where it can be.
Yeah, if you ask different questions, that is not always a nice question.
Yes.
And of course, what I learned, and that was my experience in Jerusalem, for example, if it's unsafe to imagine or to dream, of course, people can't do it. So it's impossible to tell people, oh, you must dream, you must believe in a better future, because the better future is so nice. If you are in a comfortable, privileged position and the other is not, it's waste of time. Yeah. So can you actually really, experience, okay, here is a step to make, and here is something to connect to. Here is, and can you feel that you're not alone? That you're safe, because others also are stepping into the unknown.
So that gathering other people, that making sure that you're part of a community, even though not everybody agrees with you, I keep hearing that back from you, is very essential to actually make impactful art, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know that there is artists who are like avant-garde and everyone is confused and
they don't care what people think.
They don't care what they think, and of course they might be super useful for in 100 years' time. They might be the guides of another generation, so you can never really judge in the moment how it might be valuable to be ahead of time. But I myself, I'm always also looking around me, not saying if people agree, but if they really share your journey. Because if it's just you put something provocative out there, then you actually don't show the journey that you make. Why are you making this? Why do you feel the need to make it? Where's the struggle? Where's maybe your own vulnerability? You act like a very arrogant attitude.
And vulnerability is important. Why?
Because it's connection. If you're vulnerable, people connect. I know of examples that I was, people really thought, okay, you can organize it everything. You can organize this big event. And I said, yeah, no problem. But if I would have shared a bit of my doubts, people might have felt, oh, let's do that together. Let's help each other.
You're like, I'll do it, and then you're alone.
Yeah, indeed.
And then you're tired and they are still not happy because people always want more, right? If they're not part of it, they don't know how difficult it is, so they expect everything.
Yeah, so it's great if you are steps ahead.
Yeah.
If you go to places where others don't like to go, but will they go with you?
Yeah.
Will they be with you? And will they feel that it's not, that it actually takes courage to make those steps?
Merlijn, you're now a rather established artist, so people know you. So when you talk, people listen. We now have a few hundred young students, aspiring artists, photographers, lovers watching. What would you tell them? What is important for them if they want to have a career into the arts to take with them on the journey?
And maybe that there is a richness in the process. There is a richness in their what they see, what they feel, what's going wrong, what might succeed, their doubts. The journey is maybe the richness you have to offer to the world.
So don't be afraid to share your journey.
The journey, I mean, if there's a nice product, it's even better if that product gets published or gets a nice prize, but it's actually the journey that I feel that people might really connect to.
And it has potentially the most impact.
Yeah.
Okay, one more artist that will be presenting her work on the festival is Annegien van Doorn, and her project is called Biophilia, Love for Nature, and she said this on video.
Hello, my name is Annegien van Doorn. I'm a Dutch artist, photographer. Right now you're in my studio. Welcome. Behind me you see some of my new work, Biophilia. I'm already working for a couple of years on this work. And so it's quite a nice coincidence that when I was invited for BredaPhoto 2022 to discover that I was already working on a work which really fits the theme. So maybe it's the moment in time, of course. In Greek, literally, biophilia means love for life, and it's about humankind's innate connection with nature. It's a primal necessity of mankind, actually, nature, and that's because of the evolution. And at the same time, my work is also about this distorted or this twisted relationship we have with nature. So nowadays, if you look around, in a lot of places you see a lot of plants, but also you see a lot of images of plants. You see them printed on waste containers, on fences on the street. Yeah, it feels actually almost kind of a hype. Also in almost every household you see like objects that are imitations of animals, nature, flowers, or other nature elements. Like a flamingo-shaped lamp, an egg timer, a fly swatter in the form of a sunflower, just to name a few. Why do we like to be surrounded with objects that are green or colorful and artificial representations of nature? And I have an answer to that question. So let's see if I'll give you the answer today. Scientists discovered that nature, or even an image of nature or an artificial nature, that are helpful for our well-being. So that they say that even a picture on the wall of a tree can already make us more productive, creative, and it can even lower our blood pressure. And on one hand, of course, that's really good. If it makes people more happy, more healthy, yeah, why not? So also like big companies like Google, Amazon and Facebook, they're like investing a lot in biophilic design. But I guess you already feel the paradox that's happening here, like, do you believe these companies really invest so much in biophilic design because they care of their connection of their employees with nature? Or maybe they do this because they want their employees to be even more productive, and then in a way, are we not getting even further away from nature if we can replace real nature just with an image of a tree or a cactus shaped lamp or whatever? What I really want with this work is that people make a real movement to nature. And I think if you care about nature, if you're aware about the importance of nature, then you take care of nature. Then you love life. The title of biophilia is love for life. So I think the importance for humankind is do we love life enough to save it? And I think there's the connection with sustainability. That's where we have to be more smart, I think, in the way we use our scientific studies and we use our inventiveness to create a different world. So there's quite a lot of absurdity in my work, but I think also our world is quite absurd. So So by reflecting on this absurdity, I hope people reflect on their own lives and make different decisions for the future. If you're working on a certain theme, so in this case when I'm working on this biophilia and the way how we all use this artificial biophilia in our surrounding, I come across, you know, sometimes I'm really looking for it and I really research and go to special places, but also I'll just get a picture, for example. I don't know if this works. For example, here, I really like this picture. So here you see a print of a beautiful landscape which is placed in front of a toilet. So that was just on a camping where I was, you know. So a lot of times, you know, like for example this one, you know, this was on a gas station where we made the stop over. Besides documentary photography, I also stage my images. So for example, I have quite a lot of images of objects with representations of nature or animals. That's also nature, of course. Like for example, I'll take the big one. It's probably more easy. This tiger. It's an umbrella of a tiger, and all these objects I place back in a place that is related to their design instead of to their functions. It's always, in my work, there's always a mixture between documentary and staged photography. Well, I do this on purpose, of course, because in this way it's also a way of questioning reality. So a lot of times, because I don't say, oh, this image is staged, this is not. It's in the middle, and sometimes even people think that images are staged while they're documentary and the other way around. And I think this is kind of an interesting way to play with images, because it's a way to questioning reality even more. So, and for me, it's also not really important if something is really documentary. No, it's about what the image is saying. You know, what the image transmits. What is important for me. Artists can use their imagination, to give a different perspective of the world and to help stimulate other people also to use their imagination. So, if we could all imagine a different kind of world, then we can change the world. But I think the imagination is really the first step we have to take.
Annegien, she has the artist mindset that you talked about, because she says, I'm asking questions and I'm taking time, and it's not about what is right or wrong, but I want to show that it's everything you talked about.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, the perception, the world is weird. And we need people sometimes to show us how weird it is and how weird we are. In order, well, that's a kind of question, can be confronting. But she said something remarkable, which I would love to ask her more about it.
Tell me.
She said, biophilia, to love for life, is also to take care of it.
Yes.
And I suddenly thought, okay, this might not always be the same, you know? If something is perfect, like an artwork, if I walk in a museum, everything is beautiful and perfect, nothing in myself asks to take care of anything. You mentioned Netflix as a story. It's well done. They put millions to make a big, beautiful story. But would I take care of it? There is no opening. I'm not involved. There's no place for me. I can just watch as a spectator. So I feel this super important part of what art is or can be, is that you might really feel there is a role for you.
Yeah.
Because something needs to be protected or needs to be taken care of, or a story needs to be retold to others. There is an urge. And that is what for me distinguishes art as a product that's beautiful, nice, or you can say it's very skillful, very well done, with art as a process that you feel, okay, I'm called upon.
Yeah. So it's up to you is in both ways. It's up to you as an artist to go and do your work, but it's also up to you as audience to be invited and to be part of it, right? So it's in different ways. And I really like the fact that you make a distinction between well made, well done, applaud, thank you so much, which is, let's say, entertainment or highly educated entertainment, and the fact that you try to create actually a space, a world where things can happen be questioned, a safe space which can be dangerous as well, but within the safeness of the space. Thank you so much. Mohamed is already sitting there behind his Zoom again. Welcome, Mohamed, because the last person that we're going to watch one more person, and then we're going to have an amazing ending show, right? So don't worry, we're almost there. You've been a very good audience until now. Mohamed, Tanya Habjouqa, help me. Tanya Habjouqa?
That's perfect. Tanya Habjouqa.
You selected her. Shall we first listen to herself and then you can tell us why you chose her? Tanya Habjouqa.
Hi, Tanya Habjouqa here. Really excited to join you, Breda, for another edition. Honored, in fact. And I think the theme this year, Theatre of Dreams, comes at a particularly perfect time as we were forced into ourselves, forced into a surreal aspect of ourselves to some degree, and how we made sense of the world. So bringing my project, thank you so much, Breda, bringing Kulna Walad Tis'a, we are children of 9 months, means a lot to me. I think it's a very appropriate theme for what's happening in the world, and in particular what's been happening in the last year in Palestine. So Kulna Walad Tis'a, we are all children of 9 months. It's a popular Levantine proverb, and it's meant to highlight the equality of humanity at birth. But of course, when you apply it under the lens of occupation in Palestine, it takes a very different meaning. And so it's a sardonic choice of title, kind of poking a finger in the eye, if you will. And this project really goes into, I think, one of the most extreme examples of what paths Palestinians are forced to take for the most basic of rights, most basic of humanity, most basic of human desires, and in this case, birth. The project focuses on children born from smuggled sperm of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. Incarcerated Palestinians, it's something that almost everyone knows someone, knows a family who knows someone who is incarcerated. It's something that affects families at an inordinately high level here. And so Palestinian prisoners, many of them have life sentences, triple life sentences, or such long sentences that by the time they are released, their wives are they're past the age of being able to safely bring children into the world. Many of them also had newborns when they went into jail, and they come out, their children didn't even know them. So it focuses on the greater aspects of parenting and humanity of birth, but the main focus is on the absurdity of having to smuggle sperm and to the degree and methods that they're forced to use. So far, there have been 85 women, Palestinian women, who have successfully delivered their babies, in some cases twins, triplets, from the process. How do you tell the story? Sperm, something that isn't detectable by the eye, and you don't get access to the prison, and the whole process is furtive, secretive. Like how can you tell this story? I needed to find an alternative methodology of telling the story. I befriended the IVF clinic. There's 2, one in Nablus and one in Ramallah. And a lot of the story for me takes place with the lab technicians, who are amazing humans. They take this, they see it as an honor, and they take it very seriously, this process of enabling a mother's dreams, a father's dreams, in particular a prisoner, right? That has had so much taken away already. And so they have an amazing collection of the various vessels, the sacred vessels that the sperm have arrived in. And these range, sometimes empty lighters, chocolate bags, chocolate wrappers, foil, chips. In one case, a particularly disgruntled technician talked about how difficult it was to remove sperm from the folds of a date palm. So a variety of objects. And once they safely extract the sperm, there's a whole process of fertilization. And sometimes they'll put romantic Arabic music on as they do it. Like, there's really a sense of humor as well in the whole process, good-natured humor. And so I have access to the objects through the lab technicians, and they've also shared magical images of the insemination process itself with just fantastic colors. You're watching this dance before your eyes. That's one of the methodologies. The other process that I use is just simply speaking to the mothers. I'm not looking at traditional portraiture for this, but more of a layered portrait, more of a let the conversation itself yield what the portrait or a visual tells. And in fact, I would say 80% of the process is conversations with the mother. And you'll see in the project the text itself. You'll see, because there's occasions that a sentence will be uttered from a mother that is so profound, so that it just stops you in your tracks, and you feel that sentence on par with what you would with a photograph. So I have to use a lot of varying methodologies to tell this story. It's an essential story to tell, but it's one that you don't have easy visual access to. One of my favorite pieces is from a radio show. Every Friday there's a radio show called Asra. And the mothers, grandmothers, wives, children, everyone calls in to the and you know, it's a fairly private society. People don't air their emotions publicly, but on this show, every Friday, countless calls, people calling in saying, "I love you, I miss you, Baba, please get me a dress. I want to see you. I want to hug you. I want to just bearing their souls essentially on this radio show." And so I have footage of the audio of the radio show. And I juxtapose this against the dancing sperm and the insemination process from the lab. So it's a lot of varying processes, primarily led by conversations with the mothers. I did manage to access a conversation with the father in prison one time, but that was not an easy. It's very random to be able to know when they have a call, when they have access to a phone, and when you can do that. Actually, that's one of the things that breaks the heart the most about this Asra show, is you hear people bearing their hearts, and you don't know, and they don't know, if there manages to be a phone that they can hear and access the show on, or a radio. They never know if it's ever going to reach the ears of their loved ones. So I'm going to use this time in this commission to spend an intimate amount of time with Palestinian mothers and their babies, and experimental processes in the IVF lab, and working intently for you, and very much looking forward to seeing you, Breda, in 2022.
Wow, what a story, Mohamed. Tanya's amazing story of the secret sperm smuggling. Now I just realized for the first time ever how difficult it must be that you are a young couple and you can't have children because one of them is put away for so long, for right or wrong reasons, doesn't matter. Why did you select Tanya? And she said, I get some money to make. Can you explain a little bit what you did there?
Sure. So Tanya showed work in 2020. It was called the Sacred Space Oddity. And it was looking at the absurdities under which Palestinians and Israelis live in this occupation and in this very bizarre and very difficult situation, especially for the Palestinians. And you know, the children of 9 months is something that she had touched on. And we had a few images, and the audio that she speaks of showed, you know, in 2020 at Breda. And when we were, you know, when we came up with this theme, we thought, what a perfect story this is, where from adversity and this idea of captivity, you know, the lens and the imagination and the theater of dreams that people employ to be able to create life. And, you know, what Annegien said in the last video, where if you love life, you know, you will do this. And you know, and this is so poignant. And, you know, if that is not a radical reimagining of the future, or like, you know, an improvisation in difficult circumstances, then what is? And I think that brings a lot of hope to people. And, you know, I say this, it's difficult, you know, the child, the 85 children that have been born will probably not see their fathers for a long time, but it is this idea of like giving birth to a new beginning, and you know, creating you know, a hope is all they have. And I think it's a very, very beautiful project, and one that embodies the spirit of what we were trying to do with the Theater of Dreams. And we thought it was important to commission her to continue and, have even more facets of this work, because as you can imagine, it's quite difficult to visually tell this story, and she's collaborating with these people who facilitate this process of birth. She's sitting with the mothers, and these are not easy things to talk about. And I think it takes time, and, we want her to kind of do this work so she can bring this to Breda in 2022, and really present it to the public as a perfect example of what people end up having to do to fight the injustices that they face.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And also it's science, it's research, it's journalism, it's art, it's creating this community, the safe space, everything Merlijn also talked about. Amazing. I learned actually this show that you do so many commissions and help so many different stages of artists, which I think is very important. Thank you so much, Mohamed, for being here. To our viewers, young and older artists and non-artists, it's all about the artist mindset. You don't even have to be an artist. The idea that you're open, that you share community, that you envision, and that you're not afraid to ask questions. Wow, what a show it has been. We are almost at the end of our show. For the students, I want to say at 1 o'clock the rest of your program starts. You got an email with everything about it. If you lost your email, check with some friends. If you don't have friends, just ask us through the chat. But what we want to do now is to really open it. Merlijn, Mohamed, please help with me. I have here a beautiful popper with confetti, because we want to make sure that the kickoff of BredaPhoto 2022 is done. So I'm going to pop this with a big applause from everyone in this room. So all the camera people, Mohamed and Merlijn, thank you all for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kick off the Festival Bordeaux Festival 2022. Yeah! Yay! Love it. Go. See you at next year's festival.